You don't need me to explain to you, and I don't really want to. So be aware that also can be true for people. They just want to live their life and not be a showcase to the point of being uncomfortable or feeling strange or needing an answer to the question.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. I have a new best friend with me here today. Savannah is here, and you are going to be so excited to hear what she has to say. Savannah is dual gender, and I specifically reached out to her to ask her to talk to us about, in this world of diversity, inclusivity, and sometimes I always felt like I didn't know how to approach someone who was different. But my heck, we're all different. There's not a one of us that's the same. And you're approaching everybody else just fine. Why not just be human? And so Savannah's going to help us to be human. The information about her is in the show notes. So before we get started, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. When we come back, Savannah, help me know how to naturally be inclusive. We'll be right back.
This is Adam Adams, co-founder of Optimized LLC, where we take the guesswork out of your health. If you're feeling exhausted, struggling with weight, or just not feeling yourself anymore, your hormones might be the problem. And that's why we test, not guess. Analyzing your blood work to pinpoint exactly what's holding you back. At Optimized LLC, we help you rebalance your hormones, boost energy, and reclaim your life. Don't settle for normal. Aim for optimized. Just go to optimize.com to book your free introductory coaching call. It's a free call to help you take the first step toward feeling your best.
All right, Savannah, thank you so much for accepting this opportunity to come on here, because I know as someone in the working environment, there were trans, there were homosexuals, there were whatever you want to call them. There's so many different names, and I call it the alphabet soup, the LGBTQ. I don't remember them all. And I don't want to be offensive by saying that, but I feel like I'm outside the bubble. You know, where's the S in the things to include me too? So it's like, so help me to be able to say to my coworkers, like, I just want to know I'm here, and like I would anybody other person, but for some reason I feel awkward. How do you like people to approach you? And I know you work in the corporate world and you're busy. So talk to me about this.
Well, before I even say, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me and reaching out. But before we get into your question, I want to say one thing, which is when you approached me and I saw the show and like what the show was kind of stemmed into, I'm like, what? It says about empowering women. And I'm like, I'm not full time as a woman. So I felt like I was an imposter coming onto your show.
Oh no.
So that
Men
was something
come on too.
well, there you go. But if under the guise of Savannah, I was like, oh no, does she think I'm like a full-time woman or a biological female? I mean, I'm straight and white. Let's put that right out there. I'm front street. So I did feel a little like, does she know what she's getting into?
Yes,
But
I
thank you so
do.
much. I appreciate that you were like very laser focused in having me on. So I do appreciate that. To answer your question, how do I like to be approached? It has been a evolution. I've been self-analyzing for, I don't know, like 35 of my 54 years on this planet. So my entire adult life is about self-acceptance, first and foremost, especially in a world that growing up in the 80s, formatively as a teenager, anything that had to do with, trannies was very taboo and like things you just hear about in the darkness and like in pornography and all the things that make it very stigmatized. And then I had to get over all of that in order to just keep reassessing. Where do I fit into my own world inside the bubble, as you said? Like, not even just the community bubble, the queer community bubble, but my own. Like, where do I fit into my own life? And to spend years finally kind of giving less F's about everybody else and focusing on the amazing human being that we all can be and are. So, from a personal perspective, it's taken me years to just get to the point of being able to come on shows, to start being a voice for myself in the community, not just for the community, but in the community. So, that's all preamble. And to answer your question directly, the like, how would I like to be approached? I love being approached with curiosity. I can't tell you. I told my girlfriend one time because I do Savannah Sundays, and every Sunday I will go. It's hashtag Savannah Starbucks Sundays, and so every week on Sunday I'd go to Starbucks, hang out, do my work, do my writing, do my podcast editing, all the things, and just sit there and hope beyond hope that somebody would sit down next to me and want to have a conversation about this thing that I am. And I don't mean thing in a negative way. I mean this like what is my journey? Like, why do you do this? Why are you what's going on with you, Savannah? Why do you want to be dressed up as a girl? And I love when people are inquisitive and people will typically preface everything with, I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to offend you. I don't want to XYZ. There's never a stupid question. There's never going to be, at least in terms of talking to me, anything that's asked offensively. If you come to the table with curiosity, you could ask me the most seemingly offensive thing, but if you do it with kindness and empathy and compassion and the want to learn and like to know more, that's really the best way to approach any of us in the community where you're just coming in, I'm not gonna say hat in hand, but you're coming with like a genuine like want to learn something more about something you don't know.
And just taking the idea of going to Starbucks and sitting down with someone, I don't sit down with anybody at Starbucks. I sit by myself. And it's like, that's not to be rude to all those people sitting by themselves. It's just, I want solitude. And that's a reflection moment for me. And so in that one moment, I go, me, I would probably just smile and say hi. It's like, know that you're acknowledged and not looked past is what would be my go-to um, had I seen you at Starbucks. And is that enough?
It would make me so happy if I looked up because I tend to I get distracted. I'm not ADHD, but anytime somebody comes through the door, like I look up. And I think that's more of a clocking my environment and make sure I stay
Mhm.
safe. That's another part of what I deal with as a trans person is you're always clocking everything that's happening in case something untoward might happen. So I always look up. And if you were to come in and we made eye contact and you smiled at me, I would definitely give you the biggest smile back and I would just make my day.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just acknowledging, like I do anybody, just, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
And give the smile of pure acceptance.
Yeah.
I don't have any animosity towards anybody but that one person that pissed me off 10 years. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
But
I'll even go as far as saying, and this is something I've had to learn for myself, people who give you double takes, people who gaze at you a little too long. For women in general, people who are leering at you or seemingly they're making you uncomfortable because they're holding their gaze a lot longer than they should. That is a reflection of our own conditioning as for you as a biological male who was raised to be small and protective of the self because there's lots of threats out there. In my case, that's also true. But I've also learned that people doing long stares or double takes or triple takes are also not necessarily doing anything threatening. Like I've realized as a person, especially like you hear my voice, and my voice is not uber femme. It's gonna be clockable if you hear me talking. So of course, somebody who like sees this face and then hears that voice, their brain's gonna short circuit for a second and they might have to take a longer pause to figure out what's going on in this environment for them. Because we make immediate our brains make decisions. Apparently some MIT study said that we make a first impression with people in our environment within 13 milliseconds. That was my second TEDx was about that. And so imagine that you walk into any place where there's people, you are clocking subconsciously everything happening. So consciously, like you're going to give me a smile and I'm going to smile back. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so validated and seen by Lord Jane, and she's amazing, even though I don't know her name yet. And then other people who are making those long stares, that's just their way of processing. People who are double, triple taking, that's their way of processing. There's not necessarily anything untoward about their actions or reactions. Sometimes it's all about how we feel about ourselves and how we've been conditioned to feel about ourselves in those situations, which makes it I don't know, more tempting to see it as malicious than it is. So,
And this is weird, but it's my nature because I was raised male, female, and that's all there is. And it still kind of is, but it's just got new stuff on top. But we were just on vacation and I found myself doing that to somebody, what you're just talking about, just like, is that a girl or a guy? And it just like I didn't care, but drew my curiosity. So it's just watching mannerisms and what is it that they want? Because I couldn't tell even by their actions if they leaned one way or the other. And I just went, oh, well, doesn't matter. I had a guy, I'm pretty sure it was a guy that I worked with. That His name was Terry, and he had one of those neutral voices.
mm,
And it was probably years before I knew if he had a gender or not, because you didn't know. And when you're remote, all you hear is a voice. You
okay.
don't see any other clues. And why? And you probably can't answer this, but why is it so important to know which is which? It's my nature to size it up. When you get a dog, is it a boy or a girl? I care. Why? I don't know why
Well,
I care.
I think you talked about this backstage a little bit, talking about growing up with a very binary idea of gender. Even insofar that like when you're in fifth grade biology, like XX and XY, that's it. Moving on to the next chapter. That's all we learned chromosomally about men and women, the difference between. And then you had that really terrible, I had to get permission slip to see the sex talk video, from like 1955. It says, well, little boys do, Jimmy. Look at him grow. All those kind of things are just like, what? What am I watching right now? And so we've been conditioned, especially from our generations, baby boomers, Gen Xers, and even somewhat of the millennials of pre 2000s. We've grown up with a very specific social construct of what gender represents. So to answer your question, of course, when there's a fuzziness and a vagueness and you ain't sure about it, you'll want to know because you need to put those people in the right box.
But why yeah, and I get it. I get it, but I don't I just want one box. Why can't we just all be human and be done with it? And because I
Oh,
love
Laura Jane.
everybody the same, and what you are or what gender you are or who you love makes no difference to how you and I interact.
That's true. That's
And
true.
it's like, I just want a box. I'm a human.
Yeah. That'd be nice. But
Oh,
yet we
wait,
want to have other boxes. We want to be like, I want to be in a box that loves sunflowers. I want to be in a box that loves
that's
giraffes.
redheaded.
And that's redheaded. I mean, no matter what, there's gonna be labels thrown at us and ones that we give out for ourselves. Always, always, always. The problem is those are likes. Those are like, hey, these are my hobbies. These are the things I do and the things I am. And those are all great and wonderful. Even if we're talking politically, like well, I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat, or I'm libertarian, or I'm this, I'm that. I love watching Marvel movies. I hate this, blah, blah, blah. We have so much self identifiers. It's almost unwieldy to comprehend. Thank God for the brains that we have. The problem is when you have something that is finite, like gender, and you start asking, somebody comes to you and they bring their new girlfriend, and all of a sudden you hear whispers about how that girlfriend might have something a little extra. And all of a sudden now we're focused on the genitalia of a person. In normal practice, nobody cares about your gender, what you got between your legs, because we have the assumption of like, well, if man, therefore penis, if woman, therefore vagina. But once you start getting into these gray areas that nobody's like super familiar with, even now in the 21st century, all of a sudden it's like, wait, so that's a girl, but they don't have a vagina? Wait, so my brain, it really hurts right now. I need to know.
Oh, that, so it sounds like, as we talk, it's just like when we have these amazing colleagues, it's just say, hey, I've never worked with someone who is non-binary or homosexual or queer or whatever word you want to use, any of those. I've never worked with one. So I may feel a little awkward,
Mm.
but I would like to work with you and feel like we're just friends like anybody else. Is that the right way? I mean, a doable way. I guess there's no right, wrong, right? But is that something that would be comfortable to hear?
It's interesting. As you're saying this, I'm thinking about some of my experience of like, quote unquote, coming out to a coworker. Now, they've never seen Savannah. Typically, it ends up just being a photograph on my phone because I don't walk into the office as Savannah, except for Halloween, where other characters of the female persuasion end up showing up. You would think that would be a clue, but apparently for many, it's not. Um, to your point, can't we just be colleagues and that not be the nexus point of conversation? Absolutely doable. And I'm sure many don't want that to be the nexus of like what makes them who they are, because our gender is just one thing that makes us a human being we are, right? But just most of us don't have to have it as part of the conversation because it's so self-evident. For me, I will tell you, both are true. I love that when I tell people and they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you for letting me in your inner circle of trust." And, we've had conversations about it and then we never talk about it unless I want to say, "Oh, you know what I did this weekend?" Or, this Thursday I was on with Laura Jane and I was on a podcast. And they're like, "What podcast?" I'm like, "Oops, I forgot. I haven't told you about Savannah. Don't worry about what I just said to you." Um, that's on me. But there is a weird disappointment sometimes when they don't want to talk about it, that they don't want to learn. Like they're like, "Oh, you're trans and you go by Savannah sometimes? Okay. I need those TPS reports by the end of the day." And I'm like, "Wait, but you don't want to learn all about me? I want to teach you and be an educator. Wait, come back." So sometimes it's disappointing when they don't want to ask questions, but yet that isn't right. Either they don't want to talk about it because it makes them uncomfortable. They don't care. So that makes me uncomfortable because I want to share. And I think as somebody like me who doesn't spend 24/7 in this presentation, I always love that connectivity. I always love the interest. Like I said at the start, I always love the curiosity. I love sharing. I love having dialogue about it. I love, if I'm the only person they'll ever meet as a trans or dual gender person, I want to be that best example of what I am, who I am, what I represent, how I embody who I am. And so for me, I think it just might be the advocate in me. I just
Mhm.
love sharing and I love having that really intimate conversation about life and about who we are and our struggles and our successes and our challenges.
The younger generation's lucky in the fact that they're growing up with the adjectives and they understand them. I had a friend at work that quite a bit younger than I am. I had that. What is gender fluid? What is? I can't even remember other things, but I had to ask. I had the opportunity. I didn't have to. I had the opportunity to be able to ask the questions and someone non-defensively answering them for me
Mm.
and being the educator of, you know, just being okay with who
Yeah.
they were. And I don't think they had totally settled into what they were going to be yet. You know, it was like, I'm still fluid. I go back and forth,
Yeah.
but I primarily identify as a male. And I think if we changed it to feminine and masculine, it would make more sense because to me, male automatically means penis, you know, where the energies between a feminine and a masculine are in all of us. I
Yes, I
have
was going to say
masculine,
that.
it doesn't matter. And so I primarily fall on my masculine tendencies or feminine tendencies is kind of in my head the way I could do it without wondering what's between your legs, you know? And so she was very much, I haven't really identified, but even though she said she was in line with masculine tendencies, she wore dresses and it never clicked right to me. And I like, how can you say this and be like this? And I was able to ask. And so it made it way more comfortable to just be with them because there
Mm.
wasn't those questions just spinning in your head like, hmm.
You bring up a good point, which is the question spinning in your head. Yes, it's awesome to be able to ask. And just as an amendment, I love being asked questions. There are some people in the community that have no interest in being your thesaurus and dictionary and encyclopedia for what trans means. Like they don't go around their life being like an open book, like, all right, let me explain how this works. It's like a lot of people don't have that. They don't want that. I mean, I'm a writer. I've written books on the subject. So that's all up my wheelhouse. Love it. But a lot of people are like, listen, figure it out on your own. Don't, go to Google. You don't need me to explain to you. And I don't really want to. So be aware that that's also can be true for people. They just want to live their life and not be a showcase. Um, to the point of being uncomfortable or feeling strange or needing an answer to the question. Well, then my question to you is why do you need an answer to the question?
I don't. Just
You
like I
just,
don't need to know how many stars there are in the universe, but somebody's does. you know? And so it's like, why not? If it crosses your mind, just like you would any other friend, say it.
yes, true. Right. The discomfort of asking. I think there's such a dichotomy of what we're talking about here, which is one, pick your moments, right? Don't feel like you're going to explode if you don't ask, because that's not the right time to ask. Like, I need to know right now. All of a sudden, it's very urgent and very aggressive. Like, you have to come at it with, like, just, again, curious, sedate. Like, hey, I was just thinking, it's like, I never really understood gender fluid. I was like, what does that mean to you? Can I ask that? And they're like, oh, well, fluid just means that one day I wake up feeling more masculine, one day wake up feel more feminine. Oh, okay. Well, can I ask you a follow up? Okay, sure. It's like, well, you say you present masculine, but you like wearing dresses. Can you explain that? Like, well, masculine energy is energy. It really has nothing to do with the way I dress. Da, 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 da. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, mind blowing. So it is always not only just being curious, it's about knowing your audience, being very
Mhm.
aware of their micro expressions, being very aware of their comfort levels when you are approaching in this manner. And just kind of knowing. It's like, and we need to know this about all human beings, right? This is not just a trans issue. But if you want to ask anybody questions, you have to know in the workplace, in corporate America, those people who are the best leaders are usually the best listeners, are the most empathetic. They understand multiple points of view, not just the thing they need done by you, because that's just somebody who's just ordering you around. Collaborators are much better um, business units than top-down hierarchy. So it's all that in corporate. It just makes sense. Like sometimes, both in the military, which unfortunately the trans ban is back in effect, and other things are happening in American culture right now that are just give me pause. But I found that there is something about trans and queer people in corporate America that they end up being almost, I don't want to say better at their job because that's not the right word or right phrase, but they have something that many people don't, which is empathy. And because we've gone through it. And I think you had said off air of like, I don't want people to go through what I went through if I can help it. That's very empathetic. A lot of people want other people to pay their dues. Oh, I went through it, so you have to go through it. That's not how I feel. I don't want anybody to go through. Hold on. Whew, getting a little emotional.
That's
Um,
okay.
I don't want anybody to go through what I've had to go through in my life, how I grew up, keeping it from my parents, keeping it from my family, keeping it hidden for years and years and years, and having to like spend so much time doing self therapy to like have comfort and joy in the person I am on both sides of the spectrum, the male and female side. So if I can keep just one person from feeling that, that is a job well done.
Ah, that's beautiful because it is. We all struggle. I don't understand your struggles. You don't understand mine, but we understand enough to still care and help each other.
Yeah.
And that's what matters is when you can put your heart out there and say, I care about you and I care about your well being. And I want us both to succeed. I don't have any when you want to be better. I'm better than you because I have red hair. I might have dyed it and I have to do it every so often, but I'm better than you. No, he's like, is that stupid or what? And that's all the other things about our lives is we're not better than anybody. We're just on different paths. We're learning different experiences. And if you believe the Bible says you must learn all things. Unless I'm inquisitive and curious, how am I going to learn these things?
So true. And that's, I think, another, you asked me to be on. And again, I'm so honored to be here. But yet, so many people have no interest in learning. So I think a lot of the things we're struggling with, especially now in the last 10, 15, 20 years, while the younger generation has learned to have the vernacular, the mainstream of RuPaul's Drag Race, of the trans community, what Stonewall really meant in the riots, all the things that they grew up just knowing inherently, a lot of other people have no interest in knowing it existed. And so if you have zero interest, like you said, if you don't have an interest to learn and to grow and to evolve and become a better version of yourself or a more, I don't know, wise version of yourself, then you're going to be mired in, stigmatizing others, judging others, finding yourself superior. Your opinion is the only opinion, et cetera, et cetera. So you bring up a very good point about just wanting to be kind and loving and compassionate with others is part of the journey. And the other part is learning, listening to the stories, learning what it means to them, seeing how it applies to you, if anything, and then just saying, wow, I'm so proud and honored to have heard that story because it just enriches you. Hopefully they feel validated from your active listening. And sometimes it's all about just being heard and being seen, like you said.
My personality is the queen of analogies. You know, how do you get where somebody else understands? And sometimes it's not with your story, but it's with a pretend story. And one of my favorite ones to tell is I might be a fish being raised by birds. And they might be telling me and sending me to flying school, and I just don't get it. I love to swim. And until I can break free from the expectations and embrace my swimming, I'm caged. I'm stymied. I'm worthless. I can't fly. I can't do anything. But when I embrace I'm a fish, I swim. And whether it's a monkey or a turtle or a panther or whatever it is that family you're being raised in, and you just don't quite fit, it's okay. to be you, to find those special qualities in you and let them shine. I swim. Go ahead and fly. I'm going to swim. And it's when we can finally take that stand where we free ourselves from the cage.
Mhm. And the moral of that story is the epilogue of your analogy was, and then Lord Jane found out she was a flying fish.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
got,
I could do it all.
she could swim and fly, or at least glide for a period of time.
And climb and walk slow and walk fast and growl and purr. And, the one thing that I would like to inherit from an animal is the purring. That has got to be the most soothing
Mm,
sound in the world.
I will say it's up there. It was so funny. I was just talking to my friend yesterday, and we were talking about an attribute to get from an animal. I said, I would always like a tail. I want a tail. I would be like, have like you said, a panther, about not a bushy tail, but just a nice like tiger or cheetah tail, just something to just flick around. I don't know. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I definitely like knowing that contentment of a purr, that that either you're exuding or your partner or the people you're around are exuding in that moment. Yeah, I definitely feel that's very cool.
And a tail's cool too, but I would be afraid because it's going to wag when it's happy and it's going to go through my legs when it's not. And I'm not going to be controlling it and pretending like I'm happy when I'm really pissed off.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people think that dogs are always happy because they're always wagging their tails, but yet there's different wags for different emotions. When they're aggressive and mad, they wag in a certain way. Yes, we know the I'm scared and I'm going to tuck it under. Like, oh, but if he's wagging his tail, most of us dog people kind of think that if a dog's wagging a tail, they must be the most loving and caring dog ever. So we always just want to push on their face and give them scritches. Even I was like, that dog's about ready to bite you, right? No, he's such a good boy. Oh, he's such a good boy. So, yeah, it's just about knowing the wag, I guess. So
Yes. And it is. The more you know the person, the more you know the signals.
that's
And
right.
so enjoy your colleagues, enjoy the people around you, and learn their signals. And if there's someone who doesn't want to share life with you, that's okay.
I am a firm believer that the majority of people, unless there's mental illness, unless there's trauma, unless there's things that cause you to not be, I don't know, the way that most people we expect to be as a human being, I do believe that kindness is the rule. And I'll tell you why. When I moved from New York City as a little dual gender girl and moved down to South Carolina in the upstate, where, it's red, Baptist, conservative. And as soon as I made that decision to move because of a financial situation, I just moved from one office of my company to a different office in my company. And then realized, wow, this is probably the worst mistake I've ever made because I am moving to a red, conservative, Baptist state, which probably hates people like me. And I spent 6 months in an apartment with my girlfriend, afraid to ever go out in public, even though I'd been going out in public in New York for, years before. Then I finally found a meetup group, went out, met a whole bunch of old gay queers and like parents of trans kids and trans masculine people and possibly somebody like myself as well. And then slowly, I just started doing those going out to Starbucks. And I found that all my prejudices and stereotypes of what I thought would happen to me, because I was conditioned to feel that way, were all in my head. I am very fortunate. I will say, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but in my going out into the worldness, I have never had a negative experience as Savannah. So
That's
I
beautiful.
believe, thank you. And it's been beautiful and it's been very affirming and also reaffirmed my faith in people, in individuals, not in groups of people necessarily, because we know that people have agendas and they go with like people and that kind of gives it a little more weight and power against their enemies or the people they're judging, etc. But when I've met individuals, whether they are avid churchgoers, whether they are firm Republican Trumpers. I have never met anybody in my journey here that it has been, unkind to me as a person.
So what I'd like to kind of like narrow down all this is, as our listener listens to this, what did we learn? And we learned be inquisitive, be respectful, and be kind. If the person doesn't want questions, we don't ask. If the person wants questions, we let it flow, and always do it from a place of you matter. And I want to be in this world with you. What else would you add to that? Because we've talked about way more than that, but those seem like the strongest points in my head.
I mean, I think you hit the highlights. I would just say, again, when I got a little emotional earlier on, and the one thing I want to kind of share with everybody, nobody knows your journey. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. None of us know another person's journey. We don't know what's in their heart. We don't know their trauma, their triggers, their upbringing, all the things that makes them for good or bad, because trauma is a beast. But if you go with the empathy and compassion to just be aware that somebody else's story, like, don't assume you know it. And I think that will allow you to have a more binding, intimate moment with them of true understanding and compassion with each other. I think that's the only other thing I would add.
I love it. Savannah, why don't you share with our friends a little bit about your book and what you do? And if you would like to share how to get a hold of you, I know it's in the show notes, but
I was going to say it's in the show notes. I will say, in either guise, I am a writer. I've written a zombie series as Chuck. I've written 3 books of self-help for gender expansive people as Savannah. I'm currently working on a young adult sci-fi series, which was originally intended to be like, if I was sci-fi and dystopian, how would I tell my story as a young boy trying to come to grips with a feminine part of themselves? So I wrote a 1,000-page book. And I'm like, no kid is going to read this. So I chopped it up into 4 books. I'm in the final stages of getting it crafted, edited, etc. So I'm hoping to have that out by year's end or start of next year. Already got my eyes on a future for another writing project. You can find my TEDx talks. Just put Savannah Hauk, Hawk with a U, TEDx on YouTube, and you'll find my 2 that I've done, which I was very proud of. If I had not done the podcast, the Fox and the Things podcast, I never would have had enough confidence to put myself out there with my voice, with my masculine voice, to be on stage, to do that work. And let's see. So we talked about the books, talk about the podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple and everywhere you find your downloads. Let's see. Talked about and the other thing is my advocacy work. You will find me being on shows with you, which are always amazing experiences. And also, a couple times a year, I do travel for like transgender conferences and do workshops and reconnect with my friends and make new friends, which is always lovely. I do have one story to tell super quick,
okay.
which is a wife of a trans person. Before they got married, the partner came out as gender expansive. And the wife was like, I don't know what to do about this. So she did find my book, which I'm so honored that she found it and found some resonance in it. So when we met for lunch, I did not know this woman, but she sat at my table. Usually it's like a 10 up table. So she sat, didn't know who I was until after I left, then found me in the lobby of the hotel and broke down crying, told me how much she learned from the book and from the reading and like understanding her partner as a result, because a lot of times partners don't have the language. Whereas I'm luckily fortunate enough to have the language to speak on their behalf. And the point of this story is not all that. That's aggrandizing. But the thing that was most important is she said she has never felt as wanted and accepted as she did coming to that conference, because all the people there, or the majority of the people there, are living their truth, living their authenticity, It's just like, I don't even have this kinship with my own girlfriend group like I do with the people I've met here at the conference. So sometimes living out loud and being the loudest, coolest, most amazing you can be breeds other people to do the same.
I love it. I honestly think as we share the example of being authentic, when we give people permission to be their own authentic, people lie because they're afraid of not being liked or being kicked out or not being included. And when we can finally just share our truth, it's there.
Yeah.
And even if you can only do a little bit at a time, feel it. It feels great.
It does. It's like that. The more true you are to yourself, the more joy you bring to yourself, and the more joy you start surrounding yourself with. Like the people that kind of vibe with that energy are the people that you're going to attract in your group, and that's just going to again breed the most amazing interactions, the most amazing friend groups because you're being you, and people see that, people respond to that in a positive way.
I love it. Thank you so much, Savannah, for joining me and for being open and honest and just sharing with our
Thank you.
friend. I really appreciate it. Friend Savannah and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We are here for entertainment, people that bend down a road and do our best to help you down your path to whatever your goals and dreams are. Thank you for joining and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.